Oh, hey, I noticed you didn't follow me on Twitter. You should do that. Follow me on Twitter at RCMB323, and I'll give you a shout-out next time that we have a mailbag here on the Miami Dolphins Today. I mean, just looking for 10 new Twitter followers to interact with you guys. Interact down in the comments, and you can interact with me over on Twitter. Just follow me on Twitter at RCMB323. Let's jump into today's mailbag right here on Miami Dolphins Today. First question we got is from Rafael. Why run a screenplay in your end zone? Some of these play calls are very questionable. Missed field goal, yet Miami came close to winning with a backup quarterback. Rafael, I'm right there with you. I don't know what the hell you're doing. Why are you calling a screenplay in the end zone with a backup quarterback into a rookie wide receiver? There's a lot of questions there, but just thank you. Just thank you for asking this question, because it's the question that every Dolphins fan is asking right now. What the hell kind of play call is that? Especially behind an offensive line that's just been terrible to begin the season. There's no way around it, and this guy's been the worst of them all. And Austin Jackson, looking at his PFF stats right here, he's allowed 3 hits, 11 hurries, 14 pressures. Remember, he did not play in week 1 except for 4 snaps on special teams. He has the most pressures allowed in the NFL through 3 weeks, and he's only played 2 games. He is the 9th worst pass blocker in terms of grade from PFF, and I mean, the only one worse on the Dolphins is Jesse Davis on the other side, and you're asking to run plays that get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly, but also these guys are trying to get downfield a little bit and also help block, and you're just not setting yourself up for success, right? The play calling has to change now when it's all said and done, right? You are not putting your guys in a place to succeed, whether that's from the offensive coordinators, the quarterback's just not looking at the defense and realizing what's going on. Jacoby Brissett, I thought, did a pretty solid job from the midway point of the fourth quarter to into overtime, and really when the game ended on that last-second field goal by Daniel Carlson. But overall, I mean, if we're talking about 3.5 quarters here where the offense was just abysmal, what are we doing? That comes down to the offensive coordinator and the play calling, and the play calling has to change right now if the Miami Dolphins want to get back on track. Appreciate the question, Rafael. Also appreciate today's video sponsor, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code Dolphins125 to get the best deposit bonus on the internet right now. Nobody else is giving you 125%. They're just not doing it. So go over to chatsports.com/bet, use the promo code Dolphins125, and let's say you put $100 into your account. They'll match that and then some, giving you a total of $225 to bet on the Dolphins or any NFL, college football. If you're into baseball, postseason's coming up there. BetUS is the best place to bet on the internet and giving you the best deposit bonus. All you got to do is go to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code Dolphins125. Oh, man, Batman, we're this miserable already? We're talking about draft position? My goodness, man, this is what it's come to after 3 weeks, I guess. Okay, that's fine. What position should the Dolphins target for round 1 next year? If anybody is telling you anything other than offensive line, they are a liar and not your friend. Simple and plain. Let's look at some of the top offensive line targets coming out or projected to come out in next year's NFL draft. And a lot of these guys are going to be in that top 20 range of the NFL draft. And right now, Dolphins are sitting there, if we're being honest about it. Evan Neal, he's going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick. You got Green out of A&M. You got Lindenbaum out of Iowa. You've got Penning out of Northern Iowa. And then you got the guard out of NC State as well. I mean, when you look at these guys, any of them would help right now. I truly believe any of them would be starting on the current Miami Dolphins offensive line, maybe outside of Robert Hunt at right guard, who's looked pretty solid the past 2 weeks, especially yesterday against the Raiders. But when it's all said and done, I think this is going to be the position that you target. It doesn't even really matter which one you go to, but you tell me, should the Dolphins' number 1 draft target be on the O-line? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm spamming that Y button down in the comments below, as you probably will too, as we all know this abysmal offensive line can't get better any sooner. Next question we got on today's mailbag comes from Eric Daniels. Is it the QB or the offensive coordinator that is making the offense look so bad? I think you forgot the offensive line on there. But really, it's probably both, if we're being honest about it. But I'm going to put the blame mainly on the offensive coordinators, right? The offensive coordinators in their first years of calling plays have just been bad. I mean, simple and plain. I think going back to Rafael's question early on in the mailbag, where you're calling a screenplay in your own end zone with a backup quarterback, Like, what are you doing here when it comes down to it? That's just terrible play calling and just asking for your offense not to have success. This offense just doesn't have an identity, right? It just doesn't. I mean, when you think about it, is this a pass-happy team, a run-happy team? Neither. It's just a bad offensive football team, and mostly that comes down to play calling and offensive line because the quarterback has no time to throw, and when he does, Jacoby Brissett looked good yesterday. He threw a dot to Mike Gesicki on a 4th and long to prolong the game. Had a nice deep ball to Will Fuller. I thought he actually had some nice throws, but the offensive line and the play calling have just set this offense back light years where it looks like we're back in the 1980s just trying to dink and dunk the whole time when it comes to passing when you have guys like Will Fuller on the outside, Devontae Parker on the outside, and not to mention you spent the 6th overall pick in the 2020 draft on Jalen Waddle, who was supposed to help expand this offense, and he's dinking and dunking and having 12 catches for not even 60 yards. You're not using them right. That's on the offensive coordinator. You have to find an identity quick if you're the Miami Dolphins, or else this is going to be a long season on offense. We'll be here all season long to cover the Miami Dolphins, good or bad. We're hoping it picks up a little bit. Jacoby Brissett didn't look bad in the 4th quarter in overtime for the Dolphins, and he will be the quarterback for at least 2 more weeks going forward for the Dolphins as Tua is on IR. Hit that big red button and subscribe to the Miami Dolphins today as we're keeping you up to date on the latest news and rumors on South Beach and with the Fins all season long. Be sure to hit that big red button and subscribe today. Next question we got is from Jack. Even though we lost, I think this game is a good sign considering we lost by 3 in overtime to a good team with our backup quarterback who's undoubtedly worse than Tua. Yeah, I don't know about undoubtedly worse than Tua, but I do think there were some positive signs, right? I think overall, when you look at what the Dolphins had going into this game, it was only up from a 35-0 loss at home in the home opener against your division rivals in the Buffalo Bills, right? You think about some of the potential positives on this team. You want to see some of those young guys get involved often. We mentioned Jalen Waddle already. The other guy that really stood out to me in terms of what happened on the defense were young guys, but one in particular really stood out in terms of Jalen Phillips having that positive. And what he did yesterday was just really get to the quarterback and create pressure, right? Maybe he didn't get a sack, but it just seemed like every time you were watching the Dolphins on defense, he was around the football trying to make a high-impact play. And that's what you want to see from a guy that you used the top 20 pick in the NFL draft on. You didn't get that in Austin Jackson last year as he was the worst tackle graded out by PFF in terms of rookies, right? You're getting that from Jalen Phillips early and often, and I think by the time these depth charts, kind of really pan themselves out and everything, I think Jalen Phillips is no doubt a starter right now for the Dolphins because you have him opposite of Ogbo. That could be a really dynamic pass rush for the Dolphins moving forward. That's no doubt a positive, but there weren't many outside of maybe a handful here and there in terms of how the offense and the defense look together. Last question we got on today's mailbag comes from Anthony Acosta. We should have won. Did we lose because of the bad officiating? This is where we're at now. I got you. Okay, Anthony. I see how it is. All right. Yeah, let's be honest about it. There was missed calls on both sides. I thought the Raiders got away with the call on that PI on Will Fuller, and I thought the Dolphins got a couple of, no calls go their way in terms of on Darren Waller, whether that was on Byron Jones or Xavier Howard, whoever it may be. But, no, you can't blame the officiating for this one. This is strictly comes down to the offense didn't show up until midway through the 4th quarter. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, if your offensive coordinator puts you in a position to lose, you're going to be in a position to lose, and that's what they did. This loss is on the offensive play calling, plain as day. It has to change. Godsey or Studesville has to leave in terms of this has to be a change here. This comes back to Brian Flores making that executive decision, who is going to call plays and who is going to change the way this offense is called. Because right now, this dink and dunk, trying to get 3 or 4 yards every pass play isn't going to work, especially with those weapons you have on the outside. You're paying Will Fuller upwards of $15 million a year. You better use them accordingly, right? You're not going to use Will Fuller as a dink and dunk guy, and you shouldn't use Jalen Waddle as a dink and dunk guy either. That loss in Las Vegas was solely on the offensive play calling, and something has to change, and fast, if the Dolphins want to compete this season. But let me know, who do you blame the Week 3 loss versus the Raiders on? This is on the offensive coordinators, in my opinion, on this one. It's plain as day. I don't think you can blame it on anybody else. Sure, the Dolphins could have made a couple more plays here and there, but when your offensive coordinators don't put you in a place to succeed. What are you supposed to do as an offense with a backup quarterback on the road in one of the most hostile environments in the NFL? Let me know down in the comments, though, who you're blaming this Week 3 loss for the Dolphins on against the Raiders.